Hi guys, you're very welcome back to the channel. I'm slightly out of breath because I'm talking in between sets. I don't want to talk for too long because I want to focus on my session, but I've a quiet gym. I'll use this opportunity to walk you guys through the first day of my new program and talk about the rationale behind why I made the changes I did. I touched on it in the second last video when I shared my 3-day workout plan with you guys that I was using for the last year and a half, which was incredibly effective for me and was brilliant how effective it was, and the program only being 3 days. Because the biggest change I find now is the demands on my lifestyle and my time with changing my program from 3 to 5 days. That's a big change. It's a big change. Some days I find I'm like, there's two days I actually didn't leave the gym from like whatever time I was in the morning, 6 or 7 a.m. with clients, break, use that time to train, do content, and then it's not long that the evening is rolling around and you're back into evening clients. You're not even going home, you're here for the whole day, which that's going to take a bit of getting used to. So I don't know how sustainable 5 days is, we'll see, but I might go back to something like a 3-day or even maybe just a 4-day program in the future. But for right now, I'm going to stick with this 5-day plan, and I'm doing this because I really haven't changed too much of the sessions. Like, I was doing upper arms, legs. Now I'm doing pull, push, legs, and upper arms, legs. So it seems like that's very different, but that Wednesday session I did that upper session, going from doing like a pull movement to a push. I was doing a lot of big movements, I was combining them. I've more or less taken this opportunity to separate those on different days, do pretty much the same movements, but do them on different days, so I'm fresher for each of those movements and I can dedicate more of my time, energy and effort to those exercises and not have to worry about the fatigue from, let's say, from pull-ups and then going into my bench. I don't have to worry about the fatigue of that. Now, of course, I can add in like another potential exercise here and there, which I have added into this session, which is great because now I'm getting more opportunity to do a little bit more work. But I'm just doing this to finish the year strong. It's been a fantastic year of training, and I want to capitalize on the gains I've made. I want to finish really strong. And I made this change to almost make the most out of the bulk before I ended it. But to be honest, I ended my bulk. A few days ago I announced on my Instagram that I ended my bulk, and to be honest it was over like 5-6 weeks ago because my weight hasn't been going up, I've just been maintaining. If anything, my weight has gone down 1 kilo. So I'm sitting around like 97.5 currently. So I presume now that I'm not going to be pushing my calories as high, that the weight will fall down a little bit, and the plan is just to, wherever it falls down to, it's going to fall maybe 97.5, 96.5, 95, to just like stabilize around the calories I'm eating. It'll eventually stabilize, and I'll stay there for maybe until mid-January, and we'll see where we go from there. But because I'm still keeping my calories high, like I'm not in a deficit, I just want to finish this year strong. So I want to see what I can do training wise, see how I can progress, train harder in these 5 days, and hopefully if I could gain another pound of muscle tissue before the year is out, that would be fantastic. So with that being said, let's touch on the session. Don't know why I did that. So the first exercise I just did was the neutral grip pull-ups. I didn't go weighted today because I took a deload week last week, and I'm not going to go too hard this week with my training. I'm going to go hard, but I'm going to reduce the load. With my neutral grip pull-ups, I noticed, and I touched on in the second last video talking about my program and the body parts I felt got brought up, my upper mid back really came on this year. Like, it looks thick, it looks good, but I want to prioritize my lats a little bit more now. I used to prioritize my lats for the first, I don't know, almost like half a decade of my training, and that's why I've really nice wide lats. I want to grow them now a little bit more. See, can I just add a little bit more tissue to those areas? so that when I do a lat spread, they're just going to be a little bit wider. So with the neutral grip pull-up, because the elbow is tucked, it's going to bias my lats a little bit more. You're not going to ever completely isolate any one area, so I'm still going to be getting my upper back, my biceps, my forearms, but I want to bias my lats a little bit more, hence the straps. I never use straps for pull-ups, even when I'm going weighted. My grip has always been fine, but I want to just really think about my lats a little bit more and try and engage them a little bit more. So that's why I'm using the straps, so the grip isn't a factor. So yeah, that was the first movement. I did 3 sets of a rep range of like 8 to 12. And on the last set, you can see I did a few partial reps. So a few partial reps from the bottom position. Now, they're also known as lengthened partials, and they're like the rage lately. Everybody's talking about lengthened partials. What I'm about to say might be pure shy talk, but the way I think about lengthened partials, I think they're effective if the intent is there to do a full rep. You can't have the intention of, I'm going to do a quarter rep and be like, eh. You have to have the intention there that first and foremost, you're truly close to failure and you can't complete another rep and you're really trying to complete another rep. I think that's when lengthened partials will be effective. So that's what I was doing there at the end of that set. I'll do it at the end of this set as well. So what I'm going into here now is I'm going to change this attachment to a single arm attachment, and we're going to go for single arm cable rows. The last 3-4 weeks I've kind of been messing around with my exercise selection because I wanted to try a few things out before I nailed my program down. And I was messing around with different rows. I was messing around with single arm cable lat pull downs across the body, and I was just feeling things out. Some things didn't feel that great, and I just went back to just a seated single arm cable row as my single arm pull down variation. Pull on this single arm pull variation on this day, and it felt phenomenal. So I'm sticking with that. The basics. They're all going to be a little bit different. I found this really worked for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for potentially anywhere from 11 to 15 reps. I'm going to fall within that rep range. And again, I'm trying to bias the lat. That elbow is going to be very tucked. I'm going to line myself up a little bit as I'm pulling. So you can see here, I'm not just going to pull like this with this cable and sit in the middle. If I'm pulling with my right hand, I'm going to scooch to the left a little bit. So my left ass cheek is almost hanging off the bench. And now I'm going to be really lined up with this side, and vice versa. I'll do the same on the left side as well. So I'm going to stop talking now and get on with my session. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. That wasn't a bad set. What I might do is, I was doing this a little different last week. I just had my feet up. I didn't pull myself off to either side as much. And remember, that felt good last week. So I might try last week's setup. It's only a little different. I might try that again and just see how that feels. But like I said, I'm trying to bias my lats here, and don't worry about lining things up as such. Trying to get the perfect angle, the most optimal angle. More so worry about if you're trying to most people have trouble just engaging their back on most pulling movements. So the most important thing you need to look at here is the first thing that moves. The first thing you should see move when I'm pulling, I'm trying to engage my back, is my elbow. What I mean is, when I'm pulling, if we truly want to isolate our back muscles, we need to see this move first. But often what you see is this. Very subtle, but I just moved my torso first and then pulled. So what that's doing is, it's my whole back doing the exercise, and then a little bit of the muscle I'm trying to isolate is then working. And plus, Our muscles are at more of a disadvantage here. They're weaker, which means they're going to have to work harder. That's great for muscle growth. If we put them here, now this is they're in more of a stronger position to pull. You can lift more weight, now you're not going to be isolating the muscles you want to isolate. As I would say, just focus your attention on that. The first thing that you should do is elbow first. That's the point of initiation. And even then, if you pull and then lean back, that's better than leaning back and pulling. But really everything should stay stiff, and the only thing that's moving is like, pop, is that arm. But that's not realistic, it doesn't play out that way, especially if you're training close to failure. Things will move, which is totally fine. So I'll do this again, and I'll change the angle, just give you a better look. Okay, that's a little bit different. I didn't sit off to the side as much. One foot was up here, and next time now, just to be sure, I'll try 2 feet up, sit a little bit off to the side. I'll be sitting off a little less to the side because my 2 feet will be up. But I noticed here with the foot up, I can be more aggressive in the pull, which is important. You want the concentric phase, which in this case is the pull. You want that to be strong. People are getting like good technique and control a little bit messed up. Like, you want to control the loads, but you can't be going so slow on the concentric, because that's just going to limit the amount of weight you can lift, and you want to be striving to lift more and more weight over time. It's going to be very hard to do with a slow pull. So that strong pull I'm getting there, I think I favor that a little bit more. That feels better. So I want a little bit more of that, because I really like my technique and my setup is good enough. If I have my feet off or on, or move myself a little to the side, if they're going to make any difference at all, it'll be like a few percent, maybe. So the setup, I don't need to worry about so much. I'm locked in, I need to fucking go to town now, keep effort high and train close to failure. So that's what I'm going to prioritize now for this set. And like I said, it's the last set now. I'll introduce a few lengthened partials at the end of the set to extend the set a little bit further. But remember to keep the intention there that you're trying to do a full rep. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're wasting your time with those reps. Because I've seen people do lengthened partials, and it's just like they go from doing this to not even close to failure, and then they go, It's like, no, you didn't do that right at all. First and foremost, if your breath speed like this hasn't changed, you're not near failure in the first place, and then you start doing this, it's not really going to be that effective. So make sure you're close to failure when you're trying to implement this, and then that's when that could potentially work for you, and you can see more gains in time. So take a drink, and we're going to get stuck in to this again. I feel like Sam Sulek. I like this. Just talking, no music. Music is in here. Heavy metal. There was Slayer, Avenged Sevenfold. Look forward to the new Linkin Park album dropping this week. It's great to have them back. I grew up with Linkin Park. That was my gym music. that's that done. We've spent the whole session, the whole video pretty much on this bench, talking shite. But that's what I want to do with this video, and the videos to come. I'll go into each day I do, the reason why I'm doing the exercise I'm doing, and I'll give you some pointers on those exercises, how to perform them to get the most out of them. And I think what I touched on here earlier was like initiating with the elbow. You want to see the elbow moving first. That's the biggest takeaway for the majority of you watching this. Take that away, apply that to all your pulling movements, and your back growth would be much better off. So that was good now. So next up, I have been doing a superset. I go into a chest supported row with now a flared grip, pronated grip, to work some of the upper back a little bit more now. So I'm not completely neglecting my lower back, it's just not getting as much attention. And now this was an exercise I used to do first on my upper day on the Wednesday. Sorry, no, I did it second, but I was a little bit more fresher for it. Now that I'm after doing like 2 back movements, this exercise, the load I use, it's probably going to drop now because I'm just not going to be, it's not going to have as much energy for it now that I've done 2 pull exercises already. But just being realistic, but I'm going to go in with the mindset that I do have the energy to put in to that set. Your mindset when it comes to training is very important. I won't start talking about that now or we'll be here forever, but that's probably a video, a topic in and of itself that's worth discussing and diving into if you want to get more from your training. But come on, let's get off this bench, let's start training. I won't be able to talk now because I'm going downstairs. So all the people down there is people training. So from here on out, back in Canada, buddy. From here on out will be a voiceover. Don't miss me too much. Okay, voiceover David is here. We're starting with our first set on the chest supported row with a pronated grip. We're going for that wider elbow, that flared elbow, to now try and target our upper mid-back muscles a little bit more. This set is a heavier set. Forgot to turn off the volume here. Hold on. I'm such an amateur. Now, this is the proper order. I did that set of chest supported row and I was supersetting that with the dumbbell pullover. But I do not want to talk about the dumbbell pullover yet, so we'll head back to the next set of chest supported rows. So the first set I did was arguably too heavy. It was 60 for only 6 reps, but because I did 60, 50 kilos, which you see me rowing now, that feels a lot better. So going heavy for the first set for a low enough rep range will have a benefit in that sense in the following sets. So, and I want to keep trying to drive progression. I don't want to lift lighter just because I'm doing this exercise later in the session now and I'm supersetting it. Now we're back to the dumbbell pullover. This is a fantastic exercise. Haven't done it in a really long time, and like I said, I'm trying to hit my lats a little bit more. So I've only added this in. This will be one of the newer exercises I've added in the last few weeks. What I'll say about this exercise is now that I'm recording this the day after, the long head of my triceps is so sore today, and I'm saying this as I'm recording this before I go into my push session today. My triceps are they're affected by this exercise. So the long head plays a role in the pullover movement, plays a massive role, and I want to grow my triceps as well. So this is a nice little hidden benefit I wasn't aware of that I'm not mad about. So as well as targeting the lats, this is going to hit your long head of your triceps really nicely too. This is a movement I want to do higher reps with, but I don't want to shy away from lifting heavier loads. So this was my first time trying 40 kilograms, and I'll be looking to do this weight again, perform it a little better and get more repetitions with it. Like I said, I'm supersetting this movement with the chest supported row. You could argue that that's not optimal, but I am doing that for time reasons. I want to save myself a little bit of time, and plus I don't think it's going to be too, even though they're both back movements, they're different. A pullover, we're really stretching the lats. We're not doing any, the row is more of a row type movement. That's my justification anyways. But like I said, it's for time reasons mostly. With this exercise in terms of technique, first of all, I like to go with the way I'm doing it on the side of the bench. That's my preference. I find my shoulders are too locked in place if I lie down on the bench the standard way. I can get a real nice stretch at the bottom. So just don't keep your arms very straight. Allow for like a soft elbow and take the scenic route down and up. What I mean is go down in like an arc motion and you will really engage your lats and it will feel fantastic. Now we're back to our chest supported rows. This was the last set. So with this, I love this exercise for the simplicity of it. Just allow for a flared elbow, really stretch your shoulder blades forward, and then think about driving your elbows back, ripping the bar. You should feel like your shoulder blades are trying to close together on the pull back. So when you're stretching forward, the shoulder blades are opening up, and on the pull, you're trying to squeeze them together. Like you have a pencil you're trying to hold together with your shoulder blades at the end. Very simple, very straightforward, and that concludes our back movements after our 3 sets of chest support rows and dumbbell pullovers are done. Now we're on to biceps. Sticking with one of my OG bicep movements, love the incline dumbbell bicep curl. This is something I'm still going to keep in my plan and keep trying to progress. The first set I go, again, arguably too heavy. I'm lifting 22.5s here. But is it too heavy if I'm lifting with a full range of motion, controlling the eccentric and not really cheating all that much as I'm curling up? I don't think so. And plus, similar to what I said with the chest supported row, because I'm going heavier here, the next sets, when I do drop down the weight, they're going to feel a little bit better. The 17.5 kilos are the weight of choice for the next 2 sets. They're now going to feel lighter in comparison if I just did 3 sets of 17.5. Now that I went up to 22.5, 17s are going to feel easier. So that's a huge benefit of going heavy for the first set again. And plus technique was solid. So we're on to the 17.5s here. I can now focus on the biceps a little bit more, like think about like the mind-muscle connection a little bit more. You don't have to worry about the mind-muscle connection all that much, but I do want to really try and engage my biceps as well while training really hard, staying locked in and taking them really close to failure. As you can see here, that last rep was a grind. There's no supersetting of any sort going on here. I'm doing my 3 sets of incline curls together and then I'm going to move on to the next bicep exercise, because if you're supersetting bicep, that's going to impact your performance on both exercises and I don't want to do that. My arms are a priority. I want them to grow and I need to give them all the TLC they need, they require. They're a stubborn muscle part for me. Damn, I'm sticking my tongue out there.
Sorry. Tongue is kind of big.
So with isolation movements, go hard. People try and psych themselves up for big lifts, but I really try and psych myself up for my arm work, especially because I'm at the end of my session and fatigue is high. I don't necessarily want to train anymore, and that's when you have to be a little bit more disciplined. And like I said, I want my arms to grow. So I try and keep a good mindset for the end of the session to really give my arms their due diligence. So the incline dumbbell bicep curl, I'm going with a lower rep range in comparison to the rope curls here. So with the rope curls, I'm going with about 12 to 15 plus reps, because if I feel like I have more reps at the end of this set, then I will hit them. But with the incline dumbbell curls, because I'm going that little bit heavier, I could fall anywhere from 6 to 12 reps. I say that with some hesitation, as if I feel like I have reps left, then I will go for them. Like I said, I'm trying to grow my arms, so I'm going to push them to failure and sometimes beyond failure, because my technique will probably break down, but my biceps are still going to be working even if my technique breaks down. I'm going to try my best not to let my technique break down, but it most likely will if I'm training them close to failure. And technique breaking down on something like bicep curls, like isolation work in general, there's no real risk of injury, or you don't have to worry about systemic fatigue really as well. So it's not that big of a deal in comparison to like squats or deadlifts. If you let technique break down as you're close to failure, then yeah, you could potentially mess yourself up. So I wouldn't advise that. But you can do you. Like I said, I'm really trying to grow my arms, so I have to I've trained them a little bit harder than maybe the average person. But yeah, that was the end of the session. It was a real nice session, and it's targeting the lats, like I said, a little bit more. But I have to say I'm quite happy with my physique and where it's at this past year, especially that it's looking I'm going to say it. It's looking this good at the end of a bulk. I'm delighted. I think you could be in a way worse state for being at the end of a bulk. So if this is where I'm at, I'm quite happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed that session. Any feedback would be appreciated because I'm going to do a video like this for all my sessions going forward. My push session, my leg session, my upper session, and my arms and leg session. I will walk you guys through it and give pointers on everything. So as always, thanks for watching. I hope you took something away from this video. See you in the next one.